Hello, wonderful people, and welcome back to the channel. And today I just wanted to go over some things that we generally do in Ashtanga that are not really emphasized or practiced in other types of yoga. And it's important to know these things because it really changes your practice. Okay, I think I have told you guys before about my love and hate for Ashtanga way back in the day, and now I just love it because I'm able to implement these things into my practice, and it just became so much better. So one of the things is your Ujjayi breath. Now, you probably heard this in other practices because it is practiced in yoga in general, but in Ashtanga it's really emphasized for you to practice Ujjayi breath during the whole practice. So for those of you who don't know what Ujjayi breath is making that ocean sound with your throat. So you're kind of like tightening the epiglottis just slightly, sort of like you're trying to fog up a mirror, but with your mouth closed. So it's going to sound a lot. It should be something you can hear. When you walk into a Mysore class, all you hear is this breath, and it's just your breath is your music. In Ashtanga, there is no music for that reason because you're supposed to really hear your breath, and it's supposed to become sort of an active meditation. Once you know all the postures and you're just focusing on breathing, then it can really become an active meditation. So there you go. That's why we don't use music. Your breath is your music. And your breath is also your anchor. So if you feel your breath is becoming shallow, if you feel your breath is becoming agitated, or if you feel you're stopping your breath altogether, which tends to happen in some of the difficult postures, then it's a sign. It's a sign for you to take a step back. It is okay not to do it 100%. And this is where I was feeling when I began my Ashtanga journey, and when I had this sort of love and hate relationship with it, is because I thought I just had to be like those amazing yogis that I admire so much all the time and just give 150%, even when my body was telling me I can't do all that right now. So it's listening to your body, practicing ahimsa. You don't have to do it all. And the breath is a good reminder of that, of where you're at, where your body is at. Let go of that ego mind that is telling you you have to do some kind of performance for the rest of the people in the class or for yourself even. So it's a practice. Ashtanga is a practice of a lot of humility. It's a practice of letting go of the way that you feel things are supposed to look like. All bodies are different. Not all postures are going to look the same on every single body, and that is okay, all right? As long as it feels good on your body. So we touched up on the breath, and the second thing I want to touch up on is the bandhas. So in yoga, we have three main bandhas. There are others, but the three main ones are Mula Bandha, which is tightening your pelvic floor. So it's sort of like if you want to stop the flow from urinating, like if you really have to go and you're holding it, that is the pelvic floor muscle, your Mula Bandha. The other bandha is your Uddiyana bandha, so your abdomen, so tucking in the abdomen. And the other bandha is Jalandhara bandha, so bringing the chin close to your chest. Feel it here on your throat. So those are the three bandhas. The purpose of the three bandhas is physical and energetic as well. So energetically, by tightening the pelvic floor, tightening the abdomen, we're trying to get the flow of prana from the base of the spine up towards the middle channel, the Sushumna channel, towards all the energy centers, right? And hopefully up to the crown of the head. And physically, what we're trying to do is to bring a little bit of what some of my teachers called floatability. So if you have seen some Ashtanga practitioners, it almost seems like they're floating through the practice. And the floatability comes from tightening the pelvic floor and the Mula Bandha. Those two bandhas are pretty essential to feel a little bit weightless in your body so that you can practice more efficiently, more easily. Another purpose that these two bandhas serve, the Jalandhar bandha is actually a bandha we only practice a few times during the sequence, in the downward dogs, and occasionally in some other postures that we will go over once I break those postures down. But the two big ones that are always, always, always active during your whole practice are pelvic floor and abdomen, Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha. The other physical reason why this activation is important is because in Ashtanga, we have a lot of forward folding and then coming back up. And if you're floppy here, if this is loose here, it might hurt your back, right? Because it's a lot of bending over. And when we are floppy here, we're floppy back here. There's no support on your back. So by tightening in the abdomen, you are protecting your back. So it's sort of forming like a little corset for the body by tightening it in. And also tightening the pelvic floor for some women and men, prostate health. It's excellent for the health of your pelvic floor. Now, I know some women can have an overactive or hypertonic pelvic floor, which is the opposite of a loose pelvic floor. It tends to tighten up when you don't want it to tighten up, and tightening even more hurts. So if you are one of these women, then only do Mula Bandha when it feels right. I mean, it's already tight most of the time. You don't need to bring in more tension to that. But other than that, if you're otherwise healthy and have no issues with this activation, try to do it during your whole practice, as well as bug. Oh, that bug wanted to go into my mouth. Okay. So tightening in the pelvic floor as well as the Uddiyana Bandha. So yeah, these were the main two things I wanted to talk about today. I hope this has been useful, and I hope you have learned something new, hopefully. And if you liked it, please give me a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you all. Mwah. Have an amazing day.